What's up with Clay Holmes and a possible extension? You wrote about this in The Athletic here. It's actually the first thing that I felt excited about from a Mets perspective, because everything else has been, outside of Soto, everything else has been negative and sell off who's going. I would love the idea of extending Clay Holmes. Where are we at with that?
I'm glad to bring you some excitement, Sal. I'm really happy about that, and I'll extend that to Clay Holmes as well, because what he said, look, I'm really absolutely interested in doing something in season with the Mets to stay here. He has the player option at the end of this year, so he could be a free agent. He's obviously a trade candidate because of that. But Todd, from talking with players, if a reporter asks you, hey, are you open to this? The answer is usually going to be yes, right? Like, why would you put yourself in a box and say no? For me, what was more important, though, was how he said it, right? Like, he was very adamant. I got here for a reason. This club believed in me to be a starting pitcher. That matters to me, and I don't want to run away from this just because this team is losing. It matters to me to be here in the future and see this through. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. It kind of gives a little bit more substance to just saying, like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll be here. No, he really wants to be here, this guy.
Right, and then he tagged it with, show me the money. I mean, obviously, he's going to need some of the money. Would you make this, and he's earned it, by the way.
He has, yeah.
Would you make this a priority, a top priority for the Mets ahead of the trade deadline?
I actually would, because I look at 2027 and beyond for this Mets rotation, and I see Nolan McLean, I see Christian Scott, and after that, I have a lot of question marks about where the Mets are going to go. And then I look at free agency, and I see Skubal, and then I see Freddie Peralta right under him, and I'm looking at this list, and Clay Holmes might be the second best starter out there if he reaches free agency. So if I'm the Mets and I have a chance to head that off, I'm doing it. I'm at least looking into it. And the other thing is, you mentioned the way that he said what he said, Will. I feel like guys who are willing to talk that way maybe are willing to take a little bit of a discount too, right? Like, if that's your mindset, I'm not saying you're going to get him at some crazy below market deal, but maybe he's willing to take a little less than he would have gotten on the open market in free agency. And if you're the Mets, again, that's something you have to explore.
Yeah, no, I like the idea. I love the idea of having Clay Holmes in this rotation. And look, everybody's talking about being huge sellers, but what are you going to get back is really the, what you're having to look at. And if as him as a rental, look, he's got value, but at the end of the day, you've still got to put a product on the field in 2027. It's not going to be what you're eventually hoping to have after a couple of years of getting things back right. But he's a huge piece of it, and there's not a lot out there. And I think he's been a guy that's been not only solid here, he's proven he can pitch in New York on both sides of town. He can pitch in relief, and he's obviously become one of the best starters in all of baseball. If you got a chance to keep this guy on the team, to me, you keep him on the team.
And one more thing I'll say. When Clay Holmes got hurt, the air went out of that room because of how good he is, but also because of what he meant to that clubhouse. He's well respected in there. He is one of the team leaders. Those are the types of guys you do want to look to reward.
Now, we need those guys.
Yeah, right. I was saying weeks ago that, like, oh, come on, the talk of Holmes coming back and trading him, ridiculous. I did not realize that he could opt out of his contract, but now when he is saying that he's open to an extension, that makes me feel like he does want to be here. To your point, like, no, I'm going to test. Why would he forego free agency? What type of numbers are we looking at specifically with Holmes?
I think to Tony's point, like, he could take something that's relatively reasonable here. We're talking maybe 3 years, 50 to 75 million, in that sort of range. It's kind of a wide one, but that kind of, I think the comps are there for that type of guy. And because, like, look, he's been great when he has pitched. He has not been a starting pitcher all that long. So I think that he needs to be somewhat reasonable here with what his ask is. I don't see a world where they can't meet in the middle. I mean, it does exist, right? I'm not saying it's a guarantee that they work this out, but they really have to explore this for all the reasons that we outlined.
Look, I love the idea of going after the big guys like Tarek Skubal, right, and paying that. But there's something to be said, great value for a guy like Rick Reed or Steve Traxel, the consistent guys. And Clay Holmes has been better. Like, he's been pitched like an A, understood, but he's also, I just like the reliability of a guy who you can trust to go out there. He's built himself up into a durable, he got hurt, it was a freak thing, but durable starter, built himself up to go deeper into games, and somebody you can rely on. I like investing in that, even if it is 3 years for $75 million. Who's most likely to be traded? Who else is going to be traded from the Mets?
Well, I think Brooks Raley and A.J. Mint are the two lefties on expiring contracts. Those are the guys who are automatic. I'd put them at like 99%. The guy after that, I think that the Mets really have to and will consider is Luke Weaver, because I just don't, as good of a pitcher he is, and I really do think he's a very good reliever, it's hard to imagine his value getting any higher than it is right now. And if you're the Mets, especially David Stearns, the way he thinks about bullpens and constructing a bullpen, I can guarantee you that he sees some level of Luke Weaver as replaceable. You're maybe not getting the same exact guy, but you're getting some facsimile of him in free agency. So I agree with that in the sense that the Mets should cash in on his value right now. As much as I know people love the way that Luke Weaver's pitching, you could get some real value.
Hard to, from a fan perspective, let Luke Weaver go. Would you think that's the right move, Todd, trading him now?
I mean, I hate the idea because bullpens are hard to build, but I think David Stearns feels like bullpens are one of those things that churn over all the time anyway, and you can find replacements. Plus, with Luke having the extra year, he's got more value than a guy that's on an expiring contract because he's under control for another year to somebody that takes a chance on him. That brings value right now when the Mets are looking for value.
And also, as much as I love Luke Weaver is never going to be better than what Luke Weaver is right now because right now he's been perfect.
Yeah, no one can.
I mean, nobody can be. It's impossible. So it's only down from here. I know it's still at a good level because he's Luke Weaver and he's done this for a long time, but still, part of me feels like you have to cash in.
I understand it. I'm torn with this one, truly, because I understand cashing in, and I've said it for years, bullpens are so fickle year to year. However, I want to see this team win and compete next year. He's locked up. I think he's proven in New York with the Yankees and now with the Mets. Hard to let that guy go and replace him that easily.
It's the blessing and the curse, too, because the one consistent part of this team this season is the back five guys of that bullpen, and those are all the guys that people are calling about right now. So
can they maybe trade like Williams instead of Weaver?
It's a little harder to do that.